You check your bank account first thing in the morning. Most people do. You see a number. And that number tells you something. It tells you whether you are safe or whether you are not. Whether today is going to feel okay or whether today is going to feel like a slow emergency. That number runs in the background of your mind all day. And you have no idea that the way you are reading it is the reason it never gets bigger. Here is what nobody tells you. The rich do not think about money the way you do. Not because they have more of it. Not because they grew up differently. But because somewhere along the way, they learned to see money as something your brain was never wired to understand correctly. And once you see what they see, you cannot unsee it. Your brain has a problem with money. Not a personality problem. Not a laziness problem. A biological one. The human brain evolved over hundreds of thousands of years in an environment where resources were immediate, scarce, and physical. Food you could hold. Water you could carry. Shelter you could touch. Your nervous system was built to chase things that existed right now in front of you. Things you could consume today. Not things that would compound quietly in the background for 20 years. This is why behavioral economist Richard Thaler won a Nobel Prize for what he called mental accounting. His research showed that humans do not treat money as a neutral, interchangeable unit of value. Your brain assigns money to invisible categories. The money in your checking account feels like spending money. The money you inherited feels different from the money you earned. A bonus feels like fun money even when your rent is overdue. You think you are being rational. You are not. You are running a biological operating system that has not been updated since the Pleistocene. The rich do not escape this biology, but they learn to work around it. And the first way they do that is so simple it sounds insulting. They stopped thinking about money as something you earn. They started thinking about it as something you deploy. Think about that word. Deploy. When you earn $1, your instinct is to protect it. Store it. Spend it on something you need. Maybe save a little. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It found a resource. It secured it. The loop is complete. But when you deploy $1, the loop is never complete. The dollar is supposed to leave. It is supposed to go somewhere and do something and come back as $2. Keeping it sitting still is not safety. It is failure. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman spent decades mapping the way humans evaluate gains and losses. His research found something that should disturb you. Losses hurt approximately twice as much as equivalent gains feel good. If you gain $100, you feel a certain level of satisfaction. If you lose $100, you feel roughly double that amount of pain. This is called loss aversion. And it quietly controls your entire financial life without you ever agreeing to let it. Loss aversion is why you leave money in a savings account earning almost nothing because at least it cannot go down. It is why you sell an investment the moment it dips because the discomfort of watching a number fall is unbearable. It is why you choose the certain small reward over the uncertain larger one, every single time, even when the math says you should not. Your brain is not trying to make you wealthy. It is trying to keep you from feeling pain. Those are not the same goal. Now here is where it gets strange. Because the rich experience loss aversion too. But they train themselves to reframe what loss means. To a person who deploys money, a temporary decline in value is not a loss. It is the price of being in the game. Volatility is not danger. Volatility is the thing that creates the spread between the patient and the impatient. And if you are patient, that spread is yours. Morgan Housel, in his research on the psychology of wealth, made an observation that should stop you cold. He found that the ability to sit and do nothing during a financial downturn is one of the rarest and most valuable skills a person can develop. Not intelligence. Not connections. Not income. Sitting still. Most people cannot do it. Their nervous system screams at them to act. To sell. To move the money somewhere it feels safer. The rich have learned to treat that scream as noise. But there is a second difference. And it goes deeper. You think about money in terms of hours. The rich think about it in terms of systems. When you earn money, there is almost always a direct exchange happening. Your time for their money. Your attention for their money. Your presence for their money. This feels normal because it is the arrangement most humans have accepted for most of recorded history. You show up. You work. You get paid. You go home. The problem is the math. You only have so many hours. You cannot clone yourself. Your income has a ceiling built into it by the physics of time. And most people never question this ceiling because they are too busy trying to earn more money within the ceiling rather than asking whether the ceiling can be removed. The rich think about money the way an engineer thinks about a machine. A machine does not take days off. It does not call in sick. It does not burn out. It does not negotiate for more. It just runs. And if you build the right machine, it runs while you sleep, while you eat, while you sit in traffic arguing with a podcast, The goal is never to earn more per hour. The goal is to eventually stop counting hours at all. This distinction is why Robert Kiyosaki's financial educators have spent decades arguing about the difference between assets and liabilities. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. The average person spends their entire life accumulating things that feel like wealth but are actually liabilities disguised as status. The car that loses value every year. The house that costs more in maintenance and interest than it ever returns. The subscription services that bill silently in the background. Not because these things are evil, but because no one ever sat down with you and drew the line between what makes money and what consumes it. There is a third difference that almost no one talks about. The rich have a completely different relationship with time. You think about money in terms of this month. Maybe this year if you are disciplined. The rich think about it in generational terms. Not because they are smarter, but because someone, somewhere in their exposure to wealth, showed them what compounding actually looks like when it has decades to breathe. Compound interest is the most misunderstood concept in personal finance. You have heard the word. You know it exists, but your brain cannot feel it. Because compounding is invisible in the short term and almost violent in the long term. In the first 10 years you see almost nothing. You save. You invest. The number grows slowly. Agonizingly slowly. Your nervous system is not rewarded. It sees no immediate payoff. It wants to stop. Most people stop. But around year 20 or 25, the math shifts. The curve bends. What took you 15 years to accumulate, the system now replicates in 3. And 3 years later, it doubles again. The graph goes nearly vertical. But you will never see that part if you stopped in year 7 because the reward felt too small and too slow. Warren Buffett made 99% of his net worth after his 50th birthday. Not because he got smarter at 50. But because the machine he built in his 20s and 30s finally had enough time to run at full speed. The secret was not genius. The secret was duration. This is what the rich understand that you do not. Wealth is not built in a moment of inspiration. It is not a lucky investment. It is not a viral product. It is a decades-long act of stubborn patience. And your brain, designed for immediate gratification and short-term survival, is categorically opposed to that act by default. Every instinct you have is working against you. Not because you are broken. Because you are human. So here is the question you have to sit with. If your brain is biased toward spending, loss aversion, short-term thinking, and trading time for money, and if these biases are not character flaws but evolutionary features, what do you actually do with that information? The answer is not to fight your brain. You cannot win that fight. The answer is to build structures that make the right behavior the easy behavior. Automate transfers before you feel them. Make investing the default, not the exception. Create accounts your nervous system does not check because it does not know they exist. Remove the decision from the moment of temptation. This is what the rich figured out. Not that they have more willpower. That willpower is a terrible strategy. Richard Thaler's research showed that when companies automatically enrolled employees in retirement plans rather than asking them to opt in, participation rates jumped from around 30% to over 90%. The behavior did not change. The default did. The people did not get smarter or more motivated. The path of least resistance changed. And when the path of least resistance leads toward wealth, people accidentally accumulate it. You have been reading a number on your phone every morning and letting it tell you how safe you are. The rich read the same kind of number. But they are not measuring safety. They are measuring the health of a system. They are checking whether the machine is working. Whether the gap between what comes in and what goes out is growing. Whether the assets are outpacing the liabilities. Whether they are closer to not needing to check the number at all. You check your bank account first thing in the morning. And one day, if you build the right system and leave it alone long enough, you will check it and realize the number stopped meaning what it used to mean. Not because you earn more. Because you finally stopped thinking about money the way your ancestors had to. That is the only real difference between the way you think about money and the way they do.